Welcome to the Kratom Sobriety podcast. My name is Jacob, and this is episode 170. In today's show, we have another quitter interview lined up for you. I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting and thought-provoking interview. And we ran some stats recently, and we do know that our interviews with a guest who actually has a little bit more clean time tend to be our most popular episodes. So we'll get one of those teed up for you versus one of our more special episodes, maybe with a doctor or another guest. But before we go to that, for our intro today, I wanted to reintroduce you all to one of our new members of the podcast team and a new co-host. So I have Natalie here. I'll let her introduce herself in a minute. You might remember Natalie from episode 15, which was when we first had her on. So that's going pretty deep back into the catalog. And more recently, she was on episode 132, where she celebrated 2 years Kratom-free. Natalie, how are you? Welcome to the team. We're excited to have you.
Hey, Jacob, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited. Yeah, 170 episodes already. That's amazing. It's crazy how long it's been. I actually just recently celebrated 31 months, so 2 years, 7 months, Kratom free. So that was exciting. That was on the 16th. And yeah, life's been great. For those of you who might not know me, I'm from Kentucky. I'm a mom of 5, a wife, and recently I just became a paramedic. I worked in the EMS field for a long time. Started out as a dispatcher, became an EMT, then an advanced, and now a paramedic. Very exciting. Life's been moving kind of pretty fast. And I just recently ran a half marathon, which was a big goal of mine. So hopefully I continue going. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, other than that's just a little bit about me. So yeah, definitely excited to be here and thankful for the opportunity to get to help out when I can.
That's awesome. I'll just ask you maybe a couple questions because I'm interested. How do you find the time to run a marathon, raise 5 kids, or run a half marathon, raise 5 kids and train to be a paramedic? That's got to be a lot of time consuming stuff.
Yes, it is. And I feel like I fall behind, but I think the important thing is you just start. It's never going to be perfect. So just like with my race, I wasn't able to train as much as I could have during medic school. So I'd run a couple times a week. But when I got done, I put my training plan in and said I got 9 weeks after I graduated. So I was like, okay, if I can do it in 9 weeks, I'm going to try. And so I just did, and it worked out. And then in the evenings, we're always really busy. But I think what I like about the schedule, I work 24, so I work 24 on and then 2 days off. So it gives me a lot of leeway. Like while the kids are in school, I can do things like this or go run and get stuff done at the house. And then after they get out of school, we're doing baseball, softball, dance, all the things.
Yeah.
Definitely busy. And hopefully I can start waking up earlier and having more time to.
I'm sure you will. Yeah, I love what you said there because I think you could apply that to quitting Kratom or any substances. You just start, right? You just make a plan and just start. And then you can get on your journey. And that's the first step. And once you cross that threshold, you're most likely not going back. Just one other thing I'm curious about with your medical background and your new foray into the paramedic field. Have you encountered anybody in the field that's problems with Kratom or any sort of like incidents like that?
We actually haven't yet, not that I've seen, but then again, sometimes I'm kind of really weary seizures that happen unexpectedly. Because again, sometimes we never know and they're never completely honest, obviously. And sometimes they're still confused. So you never exactly know what may have caused that. But sometimes I do try to look out for things like that. But we haven't seen it a lot.
Okay.
And in our area, but I'm from a little town. So I live in a little town. I work in a little town, Greenup. It's like Mayberry. There's not a lot of.
It's like Mayberry, yeah. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I was just curious, and that makes sense. Like you wouldn't know what caused a seizure until you ran some testing and some diagnostics, which is obviously after your interaction with paramedics typically. Cool. We're very excited to have you, so we really appreciate you giving us some time and joining the team. And we'll get Natalie involved in some interviews here, so you can expect to hear more of her doing interviews, doing intros with the rest of the team. And I think that'll probably wrap it up for our intro today. We'll get on to another interview with the quitter, and you can hear their story and all about their recovery from Kratom. Thanks again for joining me, Natalie.
Thank you, Jacob. guys, welcome to the Kratom Sobriety podcast today. My name's Natalie, and I'm going to interview Ali. And yeah, hey, Ali, how are you? Would you like to just go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody?
Hi, I'm Ali. I'm very excited to be here.
It's nice to have you here. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you live in California and you've been Kratom free for some time.
So, I do live in California. I live in Covina right now. I'm 32 and I have over 18 months off Kratom.
That's amazing. So, what do you like? Can you tell us some of your background?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in New Jersey. I was raised in a pretty religious Jewish family. And I work a 12-step program currently, and I've realized that, like, throughout my whole life, I always had the ism, which I don't think I could ever recognize before. And, like, I grew up in an alcoholic family, and I just remember from a very young age just being like, I'm not going to grow up like this. That's miserable. And I never understood it. And I was in a lot of, like, psych wards and mental health places over the years, and then, like, treatment centers where I was with a lot of addicts, but I was not there for myself as an addict yet. I hadn't made it there yet. But then, like, later in life, I had I got hepatitis A and I went into liver failure and I was put on opiates. And I had drank here and there over the years, but I don't remember feeling like people talk about in AA, like where they had their first drink and it was like, oh, this is what I'm missing. It wasn't like that for me. Eventually, I did get addicted to alcohol too, but I don't remember having my first drink and being like, that God-sized hole that everybody talks about, like, it's filled. Like, when I had opiates, I understood because I felt like I had an alter ego. I felt like Superwoman, and I didn't even know that, like, I had a problem. Like, I remember vividly, like, my dad telling me that, like, he owned his own construction company, and he would see, like, people get hurt on the job and get addicted to opiates, and he would tell me I was getting addicted to them, but I didn't think so. I was like, "These are prescribed." Like, I'm fine. Like, I don't have a problem. This is what doctors are giving me. Even though I was absolutely abusing them and taking more than I should, like, I did not see it for a very long time. And then, like, a year after the liver stuff, I OD'd for the first time, and it was all off prescription stuff and alcohol. I was mixing opiates and Xanax and all things that you shouldn't mix, but, like, I still didn't see it as a problem. And yeah, so my dad found me OD'd, and they had given me 8 shots of Narcan and declared me dead. And I don't really know how I ended up in the ICU, but I did. And I was in a non responsive coma for 3 weeks. And when I woke up, like, I had to learn to walk and talk again, but I was fully there. And so, like, when I could talk, I asked my family why they didn't tell me I was an addict, which is very comical to me now because, like, they had been for a year and I just couldn't hear them. And when I woke up and realized, oh my gosh, like, this isn't normal. And then I was, like, sent to treatment for the first time for drugs and alcohol. But by the time I got there, I already was like, I don't have a problem. I just did a little too much. I have a career. I pay my bills. Like, I don't live under a bridge and I'm homeless. Like, I still, the delusion was so deep. And I got to treatment and I asked them to teach me how to use on the weekends. And they were like, that's not how this works. And I was like, I just need to learn how to control it because, like, I have a great life and I did a little too much. And I was like, I had been in AA with my dad as a kid, and I thought it was a religious thing because I heard a lot about God, and I was very young. So I didn't really understand. But when I was reintroduced to it, I remember thinking that nobody was sober because my dad would drink a bottle of vodka or whatever, and then he'd be like, but I'm reading the big book. And then we'd go to the AA meeting. So, like, when I was reintroduced, I was like, "Oh, I know how this works. Like, I've seen what you guys do. Like, none of you are actually sober." And I did get sober for a while. I think it was a year, but, like, I had stopped working a program once I got out of treatment because I was still in such deep denial, and I got a condo with my first, like, boyfriend out there that was a youth pastor, and, like, we had this great life. And we did Christian recovery, I forget what the name is, Celebrate Recovery. And we were very involved in the church and went to a missional community group, but we stepped back from, like, actual 12 steps and just got very involved in church. And then I don't know, I really couldn't comprehend the depths And I wasn't able to hear what people were trying to teach me in the rooms. Like, I was so egotistical still, and I don't know. But after a year, I don't even call it sober anymore. I call it more like dry because, yeah, I had some recovery in there, but then I just stopped. So, like, dry time. I got hit by a drunk driver and needed an immediate back surgery. And I thought that I was different. I never thought that I was like cured, like people say. I just thought I'm stronger. I can't get re addicted to these opiates that like I OD'd on and almost took my life. That was horrific. I won't do that again because I didn't understand addiction. And like everybody talks about the trap doors and like the yets. Like I was yet to hit all of those things. And I got like when they put me back on opiates for this back surgery, all of the things that I said I would never do suddenly didn't seem that bad, which is really interesting. But like I never had shot up drugs before because I knew then you had a real problem. Like only addicts do that. If I'm just doing prescription stuff, like I'm fine. Like it's not a sickness. So it wasn't even like I was afraid to do those things. It kept me sick. And so after they put me back on opiates for my back, I didn't care anymore. I was like ready to do everything and anything. And I got into heroin and I got into all of the street drugs eventually. And I started ending up going to jail all the time and just like minimizing it still. I was just like, oh, I don't know, like I could always justify my behavior. And that's so not normal when I look back on it. That's insane. But I could always just be like, oh, it was just a bad night and continue on. And then, like, he had relapsed too by now because I was using all the time at our place. And I don't really know how anybody could stay sober without a program and being around that constantly. But we were using together. And I was waking up every day and wanting to die. Like, I didn't wanna keep going on the way I was, and I didn't know to go back to the rooms at that point in my life, and I also always thought that recovery was going to treatment or detox. Like, I didn't understand that working a 12-step program is very different. So, like, I would take, like, timeouts and go to detox or treatment and be like and I'd get physical sobriety and feel good again and then be like, "Okay, like, I'm good, and it's gonna be different this time." And this cycle went on forever. Like, it just kept going on. And I was always brought back into AA or NA or a 12-step program when I was in treatment. Like, they'd always bring us to meetings and try to, like, tell us that's where we needed to go when we got out. But, like, I never followed through because I still had the career. I still had the things. And, like, I always thought that if you had the outside things, like, you're good. Like, I don't know if that was, like, taught to me at a young age or where I got that from because, like, I was very miserable inside. Even when I was, like, sober, I was still, like, dying inside, but I didn't understand the difference. So I just would go to treatment and I'd get some physical sobriety, feel good, and because I didn't have any, like, defense against the first drink or drug, I'd go back, and then it would start all over. And then after that for a while, I decided I was gonna move, and that would fix everything because it was obviously the people and the place, and you hear this all the time in people's stories in the rooms, but I didn't know this back then. So I thought that if I moved, I would be good. Like, I would start fresh, I'd get a job at a salon, and I didn't wanna go back to New Jersey. I never saw myself going back to New Jersey, but my sister lived in North Carolina at the time, and I thought, "Okay, I'll move to North Carolina, I'll be closer to my sister, and everything will be good." And I hated it. From day one, I did not like North Carolina, and I didn't unpack my car for months because I was like, "I'm gonna drive back to Florida." And people would ask me if I was homeless because, like, my stuff was all packed in my car because I just was like, "I don't know why I did this. This isn't what I wanted." Because I was still irritable, restless, and discontent, but I didn't understand it. And then COVID happened, and I couldn't move back. So I was like, "Oh, okay. I guess I'm gonna stay in North Carolina." 'Cause I didn't really have a choice. And I had gone to treatment once more in North Carolina. I met people. So when COVID happened, I started hanging out with these people. And they were all doing meth. And I was like, that's not my problem. I like opiates. I don't even like uppers. So I can do that responsibly, which, like, hysterical. Who does meth responsibly? But I was going to be the one. And then I got addicted to that. And of course, then the drinking and the opiates came along too, because you got to have something to come down. And like, I went into the worst psychosis of my life. And I went to a hospital and I told them that they needed to lock me up and throw away the key because I was like, I'm hearing things and seeing things. And like, I broke my brain. Like, I've heard about this and I'm pretty sure I'm schizophrenic. And they're like, I think you're just like addicted to meth. And like, you need to take a break. And so they sent me back to treatment. And I did good for a little bit again and whatever, because I always did good in treatment. I've been very institutionalized over the years. Like I said, when I was younger, I was in treatment from 12 to 18. So like I always was successful when I had rules and boundaries. I didn't know how to create those outside of like treatment. So like when I was placed in them, I would do great. And then I got out and all the salons were shut down because of COVID, and I didn't really know what to do. I don't know. I know that I started drinking and doing all the things again, and somehow ended up back in a hospital, and a doctor told me about Kratom. And I had known about Kratom from Florida because I remember people stopping opiates like over a decade ago and doing Kratom to get into treatment because back then they didn't even have the drug test they have now. And I'm sure I had tried it before in Florida, but I never did it consecutively. And when the doctor told me about it, I really had forgotten about it. I didn't realize it was the same stuff that people had been talking about. I didn't even realize that I like had done it before because I did do it with the youth pastor while we were in treatment, but I found that out later through talking to friends, like when later. But anyway,
The first time you tried it, you didn't know that you had even tried Kratom.
no, like I didn't connect it
Okay.
at all.
So what was your first encounter that you actually like remember that kind of led you to try it, knowingly try it in the first place?
So I was really sick and I was trying to come off opiates and I couldn't stay off of them. And when I went back to the hospital, the doctor was like, you can get this stuff over the counter, like at a smoke shop. Because I had been on psych meds my whole childhood and they were talking about like different medications. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And then this doctor was like, okay, like this will help you sleep and get through the withdrawals. And I should have known that it was very addictive because just like Suboxone or anything else you take to get off opiates, it's addictive. Yes, it serves a purpose, but like I just I didn't connect it. And honestly, I was only taking it at night in the beginning to sleep. And then I had gotten back into a salon and I felt normal again. And just like any other substance, I started taking it more and more. And I don't think that I could even see that it was a problem yet. Like I just thought, first of all, the way it's advertised, it's like a health supplement and all these things. And then I don't know how I know that I was talking to people in recovery from Florida and they were like, dude, we used to do that all the time. And then I was like, oh my gosh. And I like connected the dots, but I didn't realize. And by this time, I'm already hooked on it. Like, I know I'm hooked on it. I'm embarrassed to tell anybody that I'm hooked on it. I really don't know who to turn to. And so I just continue on. And
Okay. Eventually, when you kept taking it, was there, what, do you remember a specific time where you were like, okay, this is a problem?
I think I started to have withdrawals even when I wasn't like, even when I wasn't trying to stop taking it. If I went too long in between doses, I noticed because I've been addicted to opiates. So I knew the signs. And
It's very similar.
yeah, and I could tell, but I was also like, okay, I'll just take more and make sure that I'm dosing right because there was this shame and guilt that was attached to it. And I didn't feel like I could turn to a treatment center for this. And I just really didn't know where to go. And after talking to my friends, I knew that there were people in AA that did it and called themselves sober. So I was like, if I go back to the rooms, people are going to be like, oh, it's no big deal. Or they're going to be like, dude, you were addicted to opiates. Really? Like, you can't stop this stuff. So there was just such this thing in my brain that I was like, I can't tell anyone or go to anyone about it. So, like, I just kept taking it because
Yeah, kept it a
I kind
secret.
of felt like it was the only option.
So what's your actual date and what pushed you to finally like put it down for good?
So it was actually April 8th, 2024.
Oh, okay, awesome. Okay, so you have how many months? You have over 18 months now?
Yeah,
That's amazing. Congratulations.
thank you.
That is awesome.
So it took a lot, truthfully, to get me sober off of it. I wanted to for 2.5 years, which is really crazy, but I couldn't get through the withdrawals. And I really believe that the withdrawals were worse for me coming than heroin, because I remember kicking heroin on my parents' couch, like hallucinating, and I could get through it. But it was very different with this.
So this
We,
was a
me,
lot harder for you
yeah,
than
for me
heroin.
personally, it was like, and I've heard other people say that, but I don't
I have
know.
to,
Like,
yeah.
it just was, it seemed, and I think even at a certain point I accepted I was just gonna die on it. Like, I was like, there's no way out. Like, this is it. Like, I don't have any options. I did start going to detoxes. I live in California now, so me and my ex-partner had moved here by now. And we had his son, and we would go on camping trips like every weekend, and I'd be like, I'm done, and throw out all of it and try to get off of it and couldn't. And it got to a point where I was just like, I need help and I don't know where to go. And I was having health problems. Like, I was starting to have liver problems, and like I was throwing up constantly and just like very sick all the time. I was losing my hair. I thought that I had hormonal imbalances. Like, I was going to all these doctors and telling them I needed help, and they didn't know really about Kratom, or if they did, they were like, oh, it's not a big deal, and would just blow me off. And so finally, I started looking into detoxes here, and they would tell me that I had to pee dirty to get into detox. And I was like, I don't understand. I'm on this substance. And they'd be like, no, you have to pee for like opiates or alcohol or something to like, and I'm like, I don't think you understand who I am. Like, I can't go do opiates and come back to detox. That's not a thing for me. And I was just so stuck, but they wouldn't take me on Kratom. And I know that's different now. I've heard stories about people going to detox and treatment, but here, when I was trying to get off, it was not an option. And so anyway, what really pushed me was I got pregnant 2 years ago, October, and I had stopped everything, and I was going to a high risk doctor. And the baby's heart rate at 8 weeks just kept going down. Like, it just kept going lower. And they basically told me, you should prepare yourself for a miscarriage. And I didn't understand, because I've always wanted to be a mom. And I felt like I stopped this stuff, and I still lost the baby at 12 weeks. But then a month later, we got full custody of my ex's daughter. And I was like, okay, God really wants me to get sober. And I don't like ever want her to see me on this stuff. And that's really what pushed me to get off of it, because I was like, I told my ex, because we were still together at the time, I was like, either I have to get my own apartment and move out, or I have to get off of this, because she's not going to be around me like this. Like, I cannot do this anymore. We went to the hospital finally, and I had been to the hospital so many times, honestly, and told them, but I was, I think, angry that I was just like, you need to help me. Like, I have come here over and over again, and I can't stop this on my own. Detoxes won't take me. Like, you have to help me. And they tried to give me Suboxone for, I don't know, maybe 8 days and like 8 milligrams and taper down. And I was really scared, because my ex partner had been addicted to Suboxone for 10 years and got himself off. And I was like, we can't have Suboxone in the house. So anyway,
Yeah.
we made a plan together, and I took 2 milligrams for 3 days. And we, like, I don't know if we flushed the rest of them or what we did but we got rid of it so that it just wasn't even an option. And this was a week before he went to go get full custody of his daughter and bring her back to our house. So, like, I went through it by myself. Like, I went through the withdrawals by myself, because I had put Mason, the older one, through it so many times. Like, I don't know why we took him on the camping trips. And both of his birth parents have addiction, and he's seen like the ins and outs of it. But like, I wish that we left him at his grandpa's house or his grandparents' house. But he saw me try to withdraw so many times. So this last time I told Ben, you have to take him and you have to spend a week out there, like with him and Gracie, so that I can get through the worst of it, and then you can come home. Because like, I didn't know how else to do it. And I don't really know that the Suboxone helped. I think it helped mentally, because I was like, I could do this. But I still
Yes.
went through it.
Yeah. So you kind of, and I'm sorry to hear about your loss. I know that is really hard on you, and that was like a hard time that you went through, it sounds. But essentially, you decided to quit so you could be there for the kids and you just took Suboxone for a couple days and then did he take the kids for the week and you spent the week at the house just kind of suffering through it after that?
Yeah.
Okay. And so how was that like first month after that, after you had quit for you?
For me, it was terrible. For 14
Yeah.
days straight, I didn't sleep. I remember vividly just pacing the house at night and smoking so many cigarettes. And I'd sit outside in the morning, and when the sun would come up, I'd be like, okay, you can make it through one more day, just one more day. And then if you can't do it, you'll use tomorrow. And I kept telling myself this. It was like a trick because like I didn't want to pick up, but I was like, if you just get through today, you can use tomorrow. And I journaled every day. Like I look back on my journal from 18 months ago and it's crazy. There are some days where it was literally like all I did today was drink water and sit on the couch. Like I physically and mentally couldn't do more than that some of the days. Like, there were days where I couldn't even shower in the beginning, and I was like, "Why did I get sober if this is what it's gonna be like?" But I just kept pushing through another day, and I remember, I think day 14 or 15 off, I was like, "I'm gonna go to the grocery store and get healthy food and, like, get something nutritious to feed myself," and I bought a huge chocolate cake and ate it for a week. And I was like, I'm gonna eat healthy, but apparently I wasn't there yet. But I hadn't eaten for the first 2 weeks, so it was just something. It was like a big step, as silly as it was. Like, and eventually I started going for little walks, and I had such anxiety. Like, I would be so paranoid to just walk in my neighborhood, and I couldn't fathom it because, like, I've had careers, I've had all these things, and the anxiety was so extreme that I'd go outside and be like, everybody's looking at me, everybody knows. And I remember sweating like in the beginning and it smelled so bad. Like it had to have been the kratom coming out of my system, but I would shower nonstop and I would stink. Like
Same.
and
It's like toxic.
yeah, it was so gross. And I just started doing little things. Like I remember it's gotta be close to so not this last September, but the September before, it was Gracie's birthday and we were going to Disney. And I remember being so scared because I had, let's say, 3 or 4 months off now. No, April, May, June, July, August. Okay, maybe 6 months. But like I hadn't done anything like that in sobriety. And the last time I had been to Disneyland, I was on Kratom and I kept taking it and I had thrown up 3 times at the park and I just kept dosing. And I finally had such a bad anxiety attack that we had to leave early. And I was like, I can't do this because I have anxiety now sober. Like, I'm going to ruin her birthday. We had the best day, the best day. And I was like amazed. Like, I was like, I can do things. Like, and I don't have to dose all day. And if I just push through the anxiety, like, on the other side is like the sun. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. It was so beautiful because,
Yeah.
like, I didn't believe in myself and I was terrified, but we legit had the best day ever.
I love that. Yes, that's awesome. I think that it's really special when you realize that you can be present, still have fun, and enjoy the times sober. And the first time that you get to really experience that is special. So I love that story. After that, is there anything other than that that helped you kind of get through early recovery process?
The meetings, the meetings. But I
Okay.
hadn't found the meetings. Our Kratom community, like we have, there's a way out, is the meetings. I hadn't found them till I had about 3 months, and I found them by accident. I had lost both my grandpas. It was after my second grandpa passed away. I had come back and got COVID on the plane. And I kept telling my ex that I was going to pick up because I was still very newly sober. And something about getting COVID, I don't know if it reminded me of the withdrawals, but I was like, I can't do this. And I think the grief, I really think the grief too. I felt like I was dying from the grief. It was so hard. It like killed a part of me. And I know that this is a Kratom podcast, but like I was still smoking weed at the time and I really wanted to be sober from all substances. And I showed up to both of my grandfather's funerals still on weed. And I just felt like those 2 men supported me all throughout my life, like in all of my addictions, all of my things. Like they just loved me so much. And I couldn't even show up to either of their funerals sober. And something about that really ate at me too. So like I came back and I got COVID and I was just like, I'm done. Like I've been struggling all through the beginning months of my sobriety. Like this is not what I got sober for. Life is too hard and I wanted to numb. And one night I had 103 fever and I was just looking online for resources. I was like, I had been listening to AA like meetings online, but I didn't feel like I connected yet with that. And I was just like, I need something else because no one understands what I'm going through. And I found our meetings and I listened in for a week and I was like, oh my God, these people understand. And I was so scared. Like I wouldn't turn my camera on. I wouldn't talk. I just would listen and be like, wow, like there are other people out there who understand kratom addiction. Because like I said, the doctors didn't even understand when I was trying to get sober. And then I became a part of that community and it really helped. And it helped me get out of my relationship that became very toxic. It helped me move to the sober living I'm in. It helped me get into AA and get like sober off of weed. I have over 11 months off all substances now. And like,
It's amazing, Ali.
thank you. And it just helped push me into all the right directions because without that community, our Kratom community, I don't know that I would have stayed sober, truthfully. Like, I just felt so alone.
Yeah. I felt the same way. Obviously, that's where I met you. So I know a lot of your story and you've been a huge inspiration to me. So I don't know if we shared that. Me and Ali did know each other before and we both met in the Kratom community. And now we still do that. And I know you've shared some of your setbacks already. Like you said that you got out through all this time. You had a miscarriage, you lost your grandparent, and then you were in a really toxic relationship and you also had to leave that. So this was all while you were getting sober, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what did you learn from all that, like moving forward?
I think I learned that I can do anything. Like, I still do things in fear, and I've learned through my 12 steps that, like, I just take the next indicated step. I do contrary action because I got my cosmetology license. I work at a salon. My sponsor wants me to switch salons because it's not a very good environment, and I'm assisting, and I have my license. But I say that to say, like, I'm terrified to switch salons, and it's so silly because I didn't think that I could even get back into a salon this sobriety. And I just keep and it seems so silly compared to the other things I faced in my sobriety, but, like, I do everything in fear. I just keep pushing through it because I know that once I face that fear, it's like I get this confidence, and I know I can do these things. I just have to keep going forward.
Yeah. And you have done them all. You've done them all so well. And did you want to share a little bit about, because you started going to the meetings and now you say you're living in a sober living house
Mhm.
and you're also back into, because you mentioned your sponsor, you're back into AA. Is that right? Do you want to share a little bit about that journey as well?
Yeah. So I was really scared to come back today, but while I was still living with my ex, I was going to this meeting on Zoom. And I had a sponsor actually at the time that someone set me up with through New York that I knew from New York, and she lived out the woman she set me up with was out here, and I was still smoking when I started working with her, smoking weed. And finally, I got honest with her, and she's, "Allie, you need to ask people in that meeting that you go to come pick you up and take you to in-person meetings." And I was so scared to do that because I felt really, I don't know, maybe my pride. Maybe it was my pride. I'm not really sure. I just like, I can't ask these people to come pick me up and take me to in-person meetings. But the pain got great enough to where I was like, okay. And so these women from my community now started coming to my house and taking me to in-person meetings. And one of the women introduced me to the owner of my house that I live in now, and he is 38 years sober. I called him, he jokes like today, he jokes that I was one of his projects because I'd call him and I'd be like, "I can't do this anymore. I can't live with my ex. Like, I have to move." But then I would stay because of the kids, because I loved those kids more than anything. And that's really what got me sober this time. And I was like, I can't leave. So I'd call him in the morning and then by the afternoon, I'd be like, "No, it's not that bad. I was just being like, I was just exaggerating or being dramatic." And there's a lot of sober livings around the area I live in, and I honestly would have told myself, like, "Stop calling me. Go find a different house." And he never gave up on me. He never did. And so I just was introduced to a lot of people that are like now a huge part of my community and my like we always say you need a village like to get through recovery. And I have that today. Like I have sponsees. I've worked the steps. Like you never really stop working the steps, but I've gone through the 12 steps and it was very different than prior, like in my life, because I had done steps before, but I was never really willing to be honest with another human being and surrender. Like I always held on to something. And like this time it was just like, I will do anything. I'm so sick and tired of living like this. And I really don't know any other way. Like, and I owed him $2,000 in rent because I couldn't even get a job at Taco Bell and he let me stay. And I don't know. When I first came in, I did 34 meetings a week in AA. That's insane. But I didn't have a job and I just kept going to meetings because I was like, I don't want to relapse. And I was so scared. Like, I was so scared that I couldn't actually have recovery or stay sober. And like, people just loved on me. And now I show up to like podcasts and share my story, which is amazing. I did a podcast recently for the Hopeaholics, which is a really cool recovery community. I am doing a speaker meeting on Easter, which like I know that's a ways away, but it's an hour meeting that I'm speaking at. And I was taught to be of service. Like I was thrown into service. I had 10 commitments in AA when I first got sober because like I said, I didn't have a job. And so like I was taught to get commitments. And even my sponsor was like, you're doing too much. But I was just so scared of going back out. And so I was like, I don't know, like when I get to asked to go on panels for H&I, like at hospitals and institutions, like I go. If I'm not working or like I'm not doing something that I actually can't change my schedule for, like I go because I just feel like I owe everything back to my recovery.
I love that. That is such a beautiful story, Ali. And you've been such an inspiration to me personally. I've seen the light just come on inside you and you're just glowing and you're doing so many things now. And I know we're getting ready to wrap up soon, but is there any other accomplishments that you want to share with us that maybe you've done since you've been sober? I know you have the AA and you've been just diving headfirst into that. I know you're there to help any way you can. I see the service work you do. It's amazing.
We have a Bible study now that's really growing and very cool too.
We do.
It's so funny because I remember talking to you way back in the day. I don't know if I was still smoking weed or if I had gotten sober yet, but I remember talking to you and specifically wanting to start a Bible study, and I couldn't get it together for months. Like, I don't know why. And then, like, it all just fell into place. Like, and I really, like, my higher power is Jesus. I know that, like, in the room, like, your higher power is, like, I try to be very careful about where I talk about that because everybody has to have their own experience. And like I was raised with a very judging God. So like I know that some people who are raised Catholic, like when you say Jesus, they just get very turned off. And I don't want anybody ever in recovery to feel like that's what they have to believe to get sober. Because if that was like in my past, they would have told me. And when I was younger, they told me I could believe in the ocean. I thought it was so silly. But they're like, if you're in the ocean and is it more powerful than you? Can it knock you over? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, but my higher power is Jesus. And I know that for me. And like, whenever I'm doing recovery plus worship, that's when I'm at my best. And so I don't know, it's just grown so much. Like my roommate, it's on Mondays, and my roommate came last night and she was raised Catholic and she's really struggled getting back into her beliefs. And I don't know, these 3 guys from Sober Living now come every week. And like, we have people from the Kratom community. And it's just like yesterday, we were sitting at the AA clubhouse. We sit in the small room to do our Bible study. And some guy just walked in to go to the AA meeting. And he's, what is this? And we're like, it's Bible study. He wanted to be a part of it so bad. It's just incredible how it's growing. That's not me in any way. I can't take credit for that. That's completely God, but it's just so beautiful, like how much it's grown and like prospered. Like we all joke it's our favorite meeting of the week, and it is. Like it lights my heart up and my soul. There's nothing like it.
That's really special. I love that you created a Bible study now and you have people that show up and like our side kind of meets with your side and we all just have this Bible study together. It's one of my highlights too when I get to come to them. And I'm grateful for you for starting that. So I got a fun question for you. If you could take a dream trip with no budget limit, where would you go?
Greece. I would go to Greece. I've been wanting to go to Greece since I was younger. I don't know why. It just looks so beautiful in movies and like pictures. I'm like, always wanted to go there.
I would love to go to Greece and Ireland. So, this will be the last question for you. I'm sorry. What would one
You're
piece
fine.
of advice you would offer to somebody who's thinking about quitting Kratom?
Don't ever give up because, like I said earlier, like I was fighting for my life for 2.5 years trying to get off of it. I was on it 5 years, but literally the last 2.5 was just me trying to get off of it. And like, I truly believed that I would die on it. Like, I really believed that in my core and soul. And like, I look back and I'm just so grateful that I never quit quitting because like, I wouldn't have the life I have today. And I didn't believe in myself when I wasn't like, when I was still trying to quit. Like, I really didn't believe in myself, but I don't know. It's just amazing how life works out. And I just feel like if I can do it, anyone can truthfully do it. Cause like I was doing so much of it.
I think so too. And you're doing amazing. And thank you for coming on and sharing your story with us, Ali. Yeah, so we're just so grateful for you and I appreciate you.
I'm
Is
so
there anything
grateful
you'd like
for
to say?
you. I'm so grateful for you. I remember looking up to you in the beginning and just being like, wow, she has how much time? How is that even possible? Like, I just thought you were like, I put you on a pedestal. I remember it. I didn't even know you personally like I do today. I just love you so much. I'm really grateful for you too.
Love you too, Ali. And look at you now, 18 months. All right. Bye, Ali. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.